Hey everyone, it's me. Welcome to the series The Major Prophets. Today we're going to look at 2 Kings, chapter 2, verses 13 through 15. And we see here the calling of the prophet Elisha. So let us read the passage and then I am gone. Ask for questions to kind of get us thinking as we think about this text together. So let's just read. After Elijah had finished speaking, the Lord took him up in a whirlwind into heaven and left Elisha alone on the mountain. Then the mantle of Elijah fell from him, and he picked it up and went back. Now, as he was walking, he struck the Jordan River with the mantle of Elijah. And when he struck the water, they were immediately divided. And he crossed over. When the people who were with him saw what had happened, they bowed down on their knees and said, "The Lord, He is our God, truly." All the words which Elijah spoke in the name of the Lord have come to pass. They also saw him afterwards as he went up in a chariot of fire and horses of fire from heaven. And when they saw it, they bowed down and worshipped the Lord and said, "The Lord, He is our God. Truly the Lord, He is our God." So as we think about this passage, I want to ask for questions. First question, where do you see God in this passage? Where do you see evidence of God's activity? And there are 2 moments, I think, where we see very clearly God's activity. First, Elijah has just finished speaking. God takes him up in a whirlwind into heaven. I mean, this is incredible. There's no other way to explain it. This is God taking His servant, taking His prophet, taking His friend up into heaven. That's an incredibly powerful moment. And then again, later in the passage, Elisha sees the mantle fall, and he picks it up. And then he strikes the river, and the river parts, and he's able to walk over on dry ground. And so those 2 moments, I believe, are moments where we see God's activity. The second question I want to ask is, how does this passage define or describe God? And I think the key word in this passage for describing God is spirit. Notice in verse 15 it says, "They also saw him afterwards as he went up in a chariot of fire and horses of fire from heaven. And when they saw it, they bowed down and worshipped the Lord and said, 'The Lord, He is our God. Truly the Lord, He is our God.'" So God is spirit. God is not just some being in the clouds waving a magic wand. No, God is active in history. God is a spirit who causes things to happen. God is a spirit who can be known and seen and experienced, not just an idea. He's not just an abstraction. It's a living, active, powerful God who is worthy to be praised and worshipped. And that leads me to my next question, which is, why should we praise and worship God in this passage? And the reason we should praise and worship God is because He is worthy. He's worthy because of who He is. He's worthy because of what He does. He's worthy because of His character. But ultimately, He is worthy because He is our God. He is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He is the God of Israel, and He is our God. We need to remember that. We need to remember that God is worthy to be praised and worshipped. And then finally, the last question I want to ask is, how should this passage shape our lives? What should we learn from this passage? And I think there's 2 things. 1, we should be ready to follow God wherever He leads. Just like Elisha was ready to follow Elijah, we need to be ready to follow Jesus wherever He might lead us. We don't always know where that has gone be, or what that has gone look like, but we need to be ready to follow. And secondly, we need to remember that God's Spirit rests on His people. God's Spirit is not just in some people, He's in His people. And so we need to recognize that we are empowered by God's Spirit to do the work that He calls us to do. We don't have to do it in our own power. We don't have to do it in our own strength. We don't have to do it in our own wisdom. We get to do it by relying on the Spirit of God who lives inside of us. Well, I hope this has been helpful. If you have any thoughts, please feel free to leave them below. I'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you next time.